Hello, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of Rev Hagen's Horrific Cinematic Dissection. As always, I'm your host, Rev Hagen, and as always, I'd like to welcome our listeners at SCRMradio.com. That's Scream. Radio.com for all your horror and paranormal needs. Today we're going to be reviewing 1971's Willard, directed by Daniel Mann and starring such notables as Bruce Davison, Sandra Locke of Clint Eastwood fame, and Elsa Lanchester. There's also Ernest Borgnine from just about everything back in the day, from Poseidon Adventure to McHale's Navy, who plays an amazing jerkhead in this movie. Willard is about a very meek young man who works for Ernest Borgnine in the movie, who bullies him like you wouldn't believe, who actually bullied his father, Willard's father, to death. There are spoilers in this, just so you know. And took over the company, took over Willard's father's company, and gave Willard this very meek job in accounting kind of thing. He's also got a very domineering mother who's very dramatic and very passive-aggressive, really controls him through this movie until her passing in the movie, which is a huge change for Willard. During this time, though, especially in the first third of the movie, the first act of this movie, Willard befriends rats in the backyard. His mother wants him to kill him, but he doesn't want to do that because, for one thing, he's a little squeamish. But when he tries and he's going to drown him in a fountain, he just can't do it and saves him at the end. The main rat that he kind of befriends at the beginning of the movie has a litter of rats, one of which is a white rat that he names Socrates, or Socrates, if you watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Excuse my voice. And Socrates becomes his friend and goes everywhere with Willard, even to work. He puts him in his pocket, or he'll put him in his briefcase and then let him hang out in the closet. It's definitely a movie of revenge of somebody that's been pushed too far, and he ends up training the rats to not only destroy dinner parties that he's not invited to, but steal money and eventually kill for him. It's also a tragic story because, and this is a big spoiler, Socrates dies in the movie. And Ben, this other huge rat that was kind of his second, that just wanted to be a part of Willard's life, right? Always kind of snuck in with Socrates when he was going to bed, even though Willard tried to, tell him to go back down to the basement with all the other army of rats. Ben was a thinker and a mover. And when Socrates is killed by Ernest Borgnine, by Willard's boss, Ben does not forgive Willard for not doing anything about it. And something you have to appreciate about these movies, and again, this movie terrified me, or if I haven't said it before, when I was a kid. I saw this movie, I think, when I was 9. It was on TV. And it just reinforced everything. I was terrified of rats at the time. Okay, I was horrified of rats, especially after watching this movie. Later on, I ended up getting a rat of my own named Milt, who was just smart. He was potty trained. One of the best companions I've ever had. Milt was dynamite. Sadly, Milt has passed away. But it did a lot to endure me once more to this movie. It was later remade. That was okay. But for me, this movie, and the movies of the 70s especially the early 70s, this kind of horror movie, what they did was, it almost looked like a Disney film. They had that kind of music playing. And by Disney film, I mean like The World's Greatest Athlete with Kurt Russell. That kind of music, or almost Leave It to Beaver music, playing during this movie, and then horrible things are happening. And you've got lovable characters in it, but still there's lots of death and tragedy, which was kind of a theme back then. And then in kind of the mid-70s, they changed that whole feeling with these kind of horror movies anyway, or movies in general. You'd have like Bless the Beast and the Children, right? Which had kind of 70s pop folk music, for lack of a better term. And all the Billy Jack movies, right? Where he's this Vietnam vet, Native American kicking ass for the little guy. but they still had the went from Leave It to Beaver kind of music to pop, folk music, which was kind of a sign of the times. But this movie has nothing but good memories for me. I love Bruce Davidson's performance as Willard is unmatched. Sandra Locke, actually, this is a very early film for her, way before she started doing all the Clint Eastwood stuff. And she's fantastic in this movie as his love interest. She actually gets him a cat at one point, of all things. Hello. And he doesn't kill her horrifically. He just gives it to some guy in a phone booth. Do you remember phone booths? Anyway, I'm old. Elsa Lanchester plays Willard's aunt. She always played an aunt in TV stuff, but plays his mother, and she plays it superbly. And, of course, Ernest Borgnine is the bad guy we love to hate, who, of course, later went on to SpongeBob fame as, I can't remember the hero, but leave it in the comments, because I know you guys will. So, because of not just that this movie has a soft spot for me, but because of the amazing acting, that throwback style, that wasn't throwback at the time, it was just the way they made these movies, and the incredible performances, and by the rats, the expression on Ben's face of disappointment in Willard. I know this is crazy, and his anger. They have this really angry rat face at one point with Ben. When Willard's crossed the line, Willard actually ends up drowning a lot of these rats, and then Ben comes home, and he's not having any of it. Classic. Yeah, I can't recommend this movie more. Not only do I give it 2 decomposing and dissected thumbs way up, but if you don't watch this movie, you might as well just, cut off your head and hitchhike to Chicago. That's how I feel about it. So that's it for this edition of Reverend Hagen's horrific cinematic dissection. Please tune in to SCRMradio.com. That's Scream. Radio.com for all your horror and paranormal needs. Until next time, this is Reverend Hagen saying, have a horrifically frightening and wonderful day.